This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay. So first, Chanukah, shkoyach for the opportunity to share some Divrei Torah. I'm going to start off with a kasha, a very big chiddush kasha. You probably never heard this kasha before. You know, we're gonna ask the chasam to say the kasha of the Beis Yosef. What's the Beis Yosef's kasha?
8 days.
8 days.
Yeah.
What about it?
Should only be 7.
Why?
1 day is not as less.
Oh.
Okay.
So the Beis Yosef asked, and we already know this is not the Beis Yosef's kasha. This question is already found in the Rishonim. Question is already found in the Meiri, in the Sefer HaEshkol, but it's attributed to the Beis Yosef. Now, why is Chanukah 8 days? They found oil, so and there was enough oil to burn for one night. So that night wasn't a miracle. It was a miracle that it lasted an additional 7 days. So Chanukah should be for 7 days. Grada, I saw the Har Tzvi wants to say that they couldn't make it 7 days because then someone's going to make a menorah with 7 branches and it's going to be an imitation of the menorah in the base of Mikdash.
It's before that.
Okay.
That's the kasha of the Beis Yosef. One of the famous answers to the kasha, maybe the most famous answer, besides the Beis Yosef's own 3 tirutzim, is the answer of the Alter of Kelm. What does the Alter of Kelm say? He says that we're so excited that the oil lasts an additional 7 days. But the fact that it burned for 1 day, of course it's going to burn for 1 day. That's what's expected. That's nature. That's teva. When you burn oil, it burns. So that we put it in the bank, that we take it for granted. We don't have to celebrate that. We have to celebrate the additional 7 days. But is it really more miraculous that it should burn for an additional 7 days than that it should burn, period? Is it more miraculous? It's not more miraculous. We just take it for granted. But it's a ness that oil burns. Why should oil burn? Why should oil burn? Why should oil burn and water not burn? The answer is it's a miracle of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's just we're accustomed to it, so we're not excited about it. We're excited about something that we're not used to seeing. When we see something we don't expect, it's like when Makabel Pnei Shechina. But when we see something that we expect, we take it for granted. So therefore, they were masaking an extra day, not only for the miracle that it burned an additional 7 days, but for the miracle that we take for granted that oil burns, period. And he quotes the famous Gemara with Rabbi Chanina ben Doisa. Rabbi Chanina ben Doisa's daughter, she was very upset. She was sad. He said, what are you so sad about? She said, I accidentally lit Chometz. So Rabbi Chanina ben Doisa says, Ma yechbad lach. Yeah, she lit the Chometz Friday night for the Shabbos Lecht. So Rabbi Chanina ben Doisa, Ma yechbad lach. Misha amar l'shemen v'yidlaik. The same Rebbeinu Shalom who says oil should burn, he'll say vinegar should burn. Yeah, and I'm sure everybody heard this answer of the Alter of Kelm. By the way, Rav Moshe Feinstein in the Darash Moshe says the same answer. He doesn't quote the Alter of Kelm. And he says with this we could answer a diuk in the Al Nisan. We say, V'achar kach bo'u v'anecha l'vir beisecha, ufinu esechalecha, tius mikdashecha, and what? V'hidliku neiros. That's the ness, that they lit neiros. The ness is, they lit a ner that only had enough oil to last for 1 day, and it lasted for 8 days. Why doesn't the Al Nisim say, the ikar chaser min ha-sefer? The miracle is not mentioned in the Al Nisim. Why the hadgasha on v'hidliku neiros? There's nothing special about v'hidliku neiros. Says Rav Moshe, because the purpose of the miracle that it burnt an additional 7 days was to alert us that the fact that oil burns, that itself is a miracle, and therefore the v'hidliku neiros is the nes. That's the diuk of Rav Moshe. Rav David Kohen, Rosh Shiva of Chevron, he wrote Gavadig Sfarim. He wrote Yimei Chanukah. He wrote Zman Simchaseinu. He wrote on the Ramchal Terosh on Yom Maimer HaChachma. You ever see Maimer HaChachma? Unbelievable sefer. He wrote 2 volumes Mizmar LeDavid. Now 3 volumes Mizmar LeDavid. He says that's pshat. We say Yevanim nikbetzu alai b'nei vina yemei shmoina kavu shiurim anim. B'nei vina. What's bina? What's bina? A shadchan has to have bina. No? You have to say. You can't just say okay. Take Reuven and take Sprinza. You have to be lahavin davar mitoch davar. You have to. It's not enough to have chachma. You have to have bina. What's the Indian that the Chachamim who were Kaveh Chanukah, they were B'nai Vina? What's the Bina in being Kaveh Chanukah? The Bina is, when they saw that it burnt an additional 7 days, they extrapolated. They were mavin that the first day was also a miracle, and therefore, Yemei Shmoino Kavu Shironan. That's B'nai Vina, Yemei Shmoino Kavu Shironan. So far, everything I said, Kfar Yadum, Umufur Samim, everybody knows it. This is like, I have to come to Williamsburg. Everybody knows the Altar of Kelm. This Taratz. Here's my kasha. This is a good kasha. You like this answer? This makes sense to you? I have a good idea. Sukkot, we should add another day for Sukkot. What? You think it's a miracle? Anani Akava, clouds of glory, the clouds of the Shekhinah. But do you realize a cloud itself is a miracle? The fact that there's a cloud is a miracle. So let's add another day to Sukkot, because not only the miracle of Anani Akava, but the fact that, you know what a cloud is. When Christopher Columbus, nobody knows who he is anymore, because cancel culture, he never existed. Yeah. Why? Because what did he do? He had slaves, or he was whatever he did. He did terrible avlas. He was mekayim the mitzvah of l'olam hem tavodu, whatever he did wrong. He comes to America, so they used to say that when he was on the boat, water everywhere, but not an ounce to drink. Why? What's the pshat? Because you can't drink ocean water. You have to, nations around the world, they have to desalinate the water. They have to get the salt out of the water. So how do we have water to drink? So Hashem makes a big nest. The nest is, there's a big fire. The fire is 93 million miles away from this planet. It's a very big fire. It's like a Lag BaOmer fire. And it shines down at a speed of 186,000 miles per second on the ocean. And it burns the water, so now the water rises because water vapor is lighter than the air. And it rises up, and then when it gets to cold temperature, it turns into a cloud. It's a nest, no? So why don't we have an extra day of Sukkot? Because not only is Anani Akava a miracle, clouds are a miracle. Why don't we add a miracle to every single day? Pesach. You think Kriyas Yamsuf is a miracle? Drinking water is a miracle also. Water, you think water is a thing? Let's say you're thirsty, and you want something to drink. So you take hydrogen. You ever tried drinking hydrogen? So you say, you need oxygen also, so you drink oxygen. Doesn't work. You have to put hydrogen and oxygen together, and it turns into water. So water is a miracle. So Pesach should be 9 days, 8 days for the nest, and 1 day for the miracle of water. Vasep is Chanukah, all of a sudden, the Altar of Kelm says we have to celebrate that there's no such thing as Teva. We have to celebrate the fact that Shemen is a miracle. Shemen's the biggest miracle in the world. Everything's a miracle. We should have a Yom Tov base for bread. On Shabbos, 2 days of Shabbos. One for the man and one for bread. But all of a sudden, Chanukah, because we have the Beis Yosef's Kasha, so we're in big trouble. By the way, there's a sefer on the Beis Yosef's Kasha with 100 tirutzim. And now somebody in Lakewood wrote 500 tirutzim. 1,000 tirutzim. So it's not such a big thing. It's not like we're up the creek with, it's not like we're mamish, it's dochlov to give a teretz. There are enough other terutzim to the Beis Yosef's Kasha. The first day is that Shemen burns. Come on. That's a good answer? This answer we're going to show, this is the Iker Inyan of Chanukah, that Shemen should burn. But we have to be ma'ayin a little bit. Okay, we're going to start with Tikkunei Zohar. It's okay? We have to read the words. We know there's something called 10 Sfiros. So, we have to explain Lefi Hasagasenu. What are 10 Sfiros? The Gemara in Chagiga says, V'asara ma'amarais nivra olam. The Gemara quotes the Mishnah Avos. The Marsha says that V'asara ma'amarais nivra olam, it's a reference to the 10 Sfiros. What are the 10 Sfiros? 10 manifestations, emanations with Hashem relates to the world. The way we understand how Hashem relates to the world is through the 10 Sfiros. What are they? Chachma, Bina, Das. And those are sort of Lamala Mehasagasenu. And then you have 7 Sfiros that we say are Keneged, the Oshpizin, Keneged, the Yom Tovim. What are they? Chesed, Avram Avinu. Gevura, Yitzchak Avinu. Tiferes, Yaakov Avinu. Netzach, Moshe Rabbeinu. Hoid, Aaron HaKohen. Yisoid, David HaMelech. Malchut, Yisoid, Yosef HaTzadik. And Malchus, David HaMelech. Hoid is the 8th sphere. Can I get Aaron HaKohen? Says the Zohar, Timina v'hoida. The 8th sphere is hoida. Ubei hava meshabech David, hoidu l'Hashem, v'da hoid vadai. So the 8th sphere is hoid, and it's connected to hoida. So it's called hoid, but it's connected to thanking Hashem. Lam natseach and hoidu. Lam natseach is netzach, hoidu is hoid. And Moshe was meshabeach in hoid, ubei shibach Moshe, oz. Moshe said oz yashir, oz is 8. Moshe is connected to hoid. Reb Tzadok HaKohen says, what do you mean? I thought Aaron HaKohen is connected to hoid. So the truth is, hoid and netzach are interchangeable. Because they correspond to, we're going to see the Zohar says, V'ihu, the last words, hoid, temanya, yom Chanukah. Hoid are the 8 days of Chanukah. So Chanukah is hoid, Purim is netzach, Shuasam, hayisa, lanetzach. So Purim is netzach, Chanukah is hoid. Purim is Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu was born on Zayin Adar. His bris milah was on Purim. Aaron HaKohen is what? Is Chanukah. That's why it's Al Yidei Kohanecha HaKadoshim. So Chanukah is hoid. What does it mean? V'ihu hoid temanya yom de Chanukah. Somehow the midah of hoid comes lidei bitoy. It comes to expression on Chanukah. Okay, these are the words. The Chidah brings down from Kadma in Bircha Shmuel, not to be confused with the Bircha Shmuel, that the reason why Chanukah has 8 days is because hoid is the 8th midah, and therefore it's keneged. Chanukah is the 8 days keneged midas hoid. Okay. But so far so good. We don't understand fully what this means, but Chanukah is connected to hoid and hoida. Another place, by the way, where we see there's a connection between the midah of hoid and gratitude to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Gemara in Brachos darshans, Hashem hagedula v'hagvura v'hanetzach v'hahoid. The hoid refers to the Milchama in Nachalei Arnoin, when Klal Yisrael sang Shira, Oz Yashir Yisrael Ali ve'er enula. So we see hoid is a man, refers to hoida, gratitude. We know in Lashon HaKodesh there are 2 words that are very similar. There's hoid and there's hadar. Now, we say, for example, Hadar kivoid malchuscha kvar hadar kivoid hoidecha. Thank you. Hadar kivoid hoidecha. What's the difference between hoid and hadar? Now, some achroinim and Tanakh, they learn Shemos HaNerdafim. Shemos HaNerdafim means a synonym. You know what a synonym means? 2 words, they mean exactly the same thing. The Malbim has a shita in Tanakh that there's no such thing as Shemos HaNerdafim. There are no synonyms in Lashon HaKodesh. Every word has a nuance of difference. Every word has a specific connotation. I'll just say, my Zayda passed away this year. His Zayda was a Rav in the city of Linschitz in the 1860s. When the Malbim, they were roidef the Malbim, the reform was roidef the Malbim had nowhere to go. He sat in a shul in Linschitz, and he wrote the Parish of Malbim. My Zayda was the Rav of the city. He was Yedid Nefesh of the Malbim. So the Malbim writes in many Mekaimos. He wrote something called Sefer HaKarmel. Sefer HaKarmel is basically a dictionary of the Malbim, where he tells you the difference between, what's the difference between Chazak and Amatz? What's the difference between Altira v'Al Techas? So the Malbim says, what's the difference between Hoid and Hadar? Hadar is external beauty. External beauty. You see something, it looks beautiful, it has nice form, nice shape. An esrog pre-8 hadar. It's a nice color, nice bump, nice pitum. It's clean. It's symmetrical. Hadar is external beauty. Beroiv am hadras melech. A king has external beauty when there are a lot of people sitting in his throne room. It's external beauty. V'hadarta pnei zaken. Hadras zakenim. A zaken. There's a langa bard, a vaisa bard, he has hadras panim. It's external beauty. That's what hadar is. External beauty. Everyone could look at it and say, this is objectively, this is very beautiful. This is very nice. It looks good. Well, what's Hoyd? Hoyd is like this. You could have somebody, tzaddik. Do they look nice? If you take a picture of them, you show it to somebody, and you put it in a computer, does this look good? And the computer punches out numbers? No, there's nothing externally beautiful about it. But Hoyd refers to ziv panimi, an internal splendor, an internal shine, something intangible. Maybe you can't put your finger on it. You can't say it's X, Y, and Z. It's not measurable. It's not there's no cheshbon to it. Let's say chachma, anivus, tzedek, midos. A midah is ziv panimi. That's the difference between Hoyd and hadar. Hoyd is an inner beauty, and hadar is an outer. So Chazal say Yehoshua ben Nun had hadar. Bechor shoyroi hadar lai. Yehoshua ben Nun had outer beauty. He had a big sword. He was a strong warrior. He's the one who came and he conquered all the 31 kings of Canaan. And Moshe Rabbeinu never went to war because Moshe Rabbeinu didn't have hadar. Moshe went to war? That's true.
I mean, not 31 kings.
Not 31 kings. But Moshe Rabbeinu had Hoyd. So the Rebbeinu Shalom tells Moshe, V'nasata mei hoydcha alav. And Moshe Rabbeinu put his two hands on Yehoshua ben Nun, and he infused Yehoshua ben Nun with some of his Hoyd. But Chazal say, if he would have given all the Hoyd to Yehoshua ben Nun, then ein kol malach u'ber yicham la'amoid lefanav. That's the difference between Hoyd and hadar. And now we have to ask ourselves the following question. What does Klal Yisrael emphasize, and what do the Yevanim emphasize? Avada and Avada, the Yevanim are a people of hadar. The Yevanim say, this person has big muscles, he's sculpted muscles, he's strong, he has a very impressive guf, so this is a good person. They appreciated aesthetic beauty, art, culture, sculpture. They only cared about how something appears on the outside. But a person's personality and character and midos was unimportant. They didn't recognize the inner beauty of something, the ziv hapnimi. That's why the Ramban, throughout Chumash, he always talks about the belief of the Yevanim in general. The Yevanim only believed in something that you could calculate and prove scientifically. 1 + 1 is 2, 5 + 5 is 10. There's something called the ecosystem and the rain and digestion and respiration. Anything that you could put into a computer, you could put in a test tube, you could look under a microscope, and we could say this is how it is. Then the Yevanim believed. That is hadar. The Yevanim believed in hadar. But Klal Yisrael says, no, sheker hachen v'hevel hayofi. Hadar only has value if it's hadar kvoid hoidecha. Outer beauty, aesthetic beauty, it's beautiful if you have a nice Beis HaMedrash where you're beautifying the value of the Torah. The tzaddik has a hadras panim because it shows that he has an inner ziv, a ziv pnimi. So Klal Yisrael only values the hadar if it demonstrates, if it's a siman that there's a ziv, if there's a hoyd. We are a nation of hoyd, Yavan is a nation of hadar. Now, let's think about how the world runs. Okay, this is a Yisoid Gadol. We think, when does it rain? When there's enough moisture in the atmosphere, so the moisture gathers together and it forms clouds, and then it rains when it rains, and it doesn't rain when it doesn't rain. It all depends on the weather systems, and we could try to predict and look into the computer and try to figure out mathematical formulas when the rain is going to rain. And how about the economy? When does the stock market go up? The stock market goes up when you have enough chachamim who think of good products to sell, and then the economy is strong. And then when people don't think about good products to sell, then the economy is weak. We think that the way the world runs in what is called hadar. People make a big mistake. People think the way and when is there a COVID-19? COVID-19 is when somebody makes a mistake in the laboratory. It slips out of the laboratory. It chaps on some Chinese people, and then from there it spreads to the whole world. Yeah, it goes from a bat to a Chinaman, and from there it goes to the whole world. And when's it going to stop? It's going to stop when enough people get vaccinated and get a booster and a fourth booster and a fifth booster. And when the pharmaceutical companies give us enough boosters until we turn into I don't know what, then COVID will stop. That's how we think the world runs. It runs with Hadar. There's certain rules. We could write down 20 rules of how the world runs. This is how the economy runs. This is how the weather runs. This is how disease runs. We think the world runs. Now, everything, to believe that is mamish apikarsus. We don't believe that. You know what we believe? We believe that when a yid goes to shul early and he takes his phone and he leaves it outside, and during the tefillah he focuses that the Ribbon Shalom is Einoid Movadoi, Hashem controls the weather, and Hashem controls people's health, and Hashem controls the economy, and then he learns Torah, and only then he does his business, but he doesn't bring it to the Beis HaKnesses. We believe then the economy is strong, and people are healthy, and people are happy. So wait a second. Because I put on tefillin, I'm taking a black box, I'm wrapping it around my hand, why does that affect the weather? Why should that affect the weather? Why? Because I daven, I say words out of a little book in Lashon HaKodesh. Why should that affect people's health? No. If people exercise, they're going to be healthy. If people get vaccinations, they're going to be healthy. Why? Because I say tefillos are people. The answer is because we believe there is no teva. There's no such thing. The whole thing is a disguise. It's a veil. It's the hadar. But the world doesn't work with the outside formulas. The world exists with the ziv panimi, which is the hashgacha of the boirei olam. We believe ein teva klal. Ein la'adam chelek b'toras Moshe Rabbeinu ad shenamin shekol dvareinu mikreinu kulam nisim ein bohem teva. That's Ramban. The end of Parsha's Boy, number 22. We believe there's no teva. It looks like there's teva. It looks like, every 7.5 years, sometimes there's a tsunami, and sometimes there's an earthquake, and sometimes there are diseases. Every 100 years, there's a Spanish flu in 1917, and 2020, we could predict it on our calendar. There's going to be another. It's all sheker b'cha. I was just in England. You know what they say in England? It's rubbish. It's all nonsense. We believe when Yidden learn Torah and do mitzvahs, then the world is a makom tova ubracha v'hatzlacha. And when Yidden don't learn Torah and they don't do mitzvahs, or they're mezalzel, then there's difficulties. So the machlokes between Yavan and Klal Yisrael. Yavan looked at the outer beauty of something. Klal Yisrael looked at the hoyd hapnimi. It's not just Yavanim. They value a big warrior, and Klal Yisrael values a chacham. It's also how they look at how the world runs. The Yavanim say the world runs with scientific formulas and specific principles, and they believe that if you could put it in a test tube and look at it under a microscope, it exists, and if you can't measure it, it doesn't exist. And we believe that's just the way the Rebbe Shalom wants it to seem, so that we don't see him openly. But we believe shekol dvareinu mikreinu kulam nisim ein bahem teva klam. Look in the Ramban. If you look in number 17, the Ramban says v'lo uchal lefarish. I can't explain more. What? Yeah, you see this? Ki hayinu tzrichem lachsoim pi hamischak mem beteva. We have to muzzle the mouth of those who try to be wise in nature. Hanimshachim acharei hayavani. They are drawn after the philosophy of Yavan. Asher hikchish kol davar. They deny everything. Zulasi hamurgashai. Unless you could feel it. Vehigas daitei lachshoid. And they were arrogant to suspect. Hu v'talmid of Rishon. Ki kol inyan shalei hei segalav. If they can't see it, feel it, einenu emes. And we believe you don't have to see it. We believe when you put on tefillin, it affects the stock market. When you daven, it affects your health. Why does it affect my health? If I eat healthy and I exercise, then I'll be healthy. And if I don't, then no. We believe that there's something behind the scenes, something behind all these scientific principles that cover up the fact that there's a Ribbon Shlomo. That's the difference between Hadar and Hoid. The Yevanim believe in Teva is Hadar. Teva is the outer mechanics of the universe. Hoid is the inner working of how it really operates. Namely, how does it work? It's the Yad Hashem. It's the Hashgacha Pratis of the Ribbon Shlomo. Chanukah is the Yom Tov of Hoid. Chanukah is the Yom Tov where we say it's not the outer beauty that makes the difference. The beauty of somebody is not the way they look on the outside. It's their midos, it's their chachma, it's their anivos. The world doesn't run al pi derech hateva. The world runs through the secret hand of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The purpose of Chanukah is to say that not only when oil burns an extra 7 days is it a miracle, the purpose of Hoy, the purpose of Chanukah, is to recognize that the fact that oil burns, that itself is a miracle. That's the tachlis of Chanukah. It's not just a general idea that we're supposed to recognize that nature itself is a miracle. That's the whole mahus of Chanukah. The whole purpose of Chanukah is to recognize the hoid of everything. So therefore, the answer of the Alter of Kelm, the answer of Moshe, it's not just it's a geschmack teretz. What happened? Why do we have an extra day? Oh, you don't have an extra day? That oil burns. What's that got to do with Chanukah? That's the whole yesod of Chanukah. The whole yesod of Chanukah is midas hoid. That when we drink a cup of water, we have to realize that itself is a miracle, no less that when Klal Yisrael came to Mara, Moshe Rabbeinu took a stick and he put the stick in the water and it turned into sweet. Whoa, big miracle. Every single day we have the same miracle. Poland spring water, it used to be in the ocean and it was salty. What happened? Hashem took a big fire, 93 million miles away. He shone it on it. It rose up into the clouds. The thing is, if it's in the clouds, what's it going to do? It has to get to us. So Hashem made a big fan. He blew the clouds from on top of the ocean over the mountains to Massachusetts, wherever you get this water came from, or down the block. And it rained, and now it's in your cup. So that's less of a miracle than Vayim Tiku Amayim. It's the same exact miracle. It just, when is the appropriate time to appreciate that miracle? When's the Zman HaKosher to appreciate the Hoid, that not only are the open miracles miraculous, but the Teva is miraculous. That's the whole Yesod of Chanukah. The Alter of Kelm is not just saying a general idea, that's specific to the Yom Tov of Chanukah. The words of the Ramban, the famous words are on this side, the most well-known statement the Ramban ever wrote. He says, Umen Hanisim, number 22, Umen Hanisim Hagedolim HaMeforsamim. From the great and obvious miracles, Adam Moida Benisim Nasam. The person admits to the hidden miracles. Shehim Yisoid HaTorah Kula. The hidden miracles are the foundation of the whole Torah. She'ein La'adam Chelek B'Toras Moshe Rabbeinu. The person has no Chelek in the Torah. Ad Shenamin, until we believe B'chol Divarenu, that all of our happenings U'Mikrenu Kulam Nisim, everything is a miracle. Ein B'em Tevam and Hagen Shalom, Bein B'Rabim, Bein B'Yachid. Oh, I happened to go to this place today, and I happened to meet this bacher, and I happened to say to some mishpacha that to recommend. You happen to meet the bacher? It's a nice nigla that you made the bacher. The Rebbe Shem wanted this couple to get married. The Rebbe Shem wanted you to have parnasa, so he changed the whole world. Why? Because you daven good. That's it. If you wouldn't have davened good, then the bacher would have walked on the next block. He wasn't even planning on walking on this block. You know how many nisim, neflam, the Rebbe Shem made just that you should meet that bacher. Or the Rebbe Shem wanted somebody to have a good chiddush. This sefer, it wasn't even there. You know how the sefer got there? Because you had a certain zechiyah. 3 days earlier, somebody came from a different state and he happened to pick up the sefer and he left it just over there. It's kula nisim. Everything is nisim. How do we know it's nisim? from Kriyas Yamsuf we know it's a nes. When we see the open miracles, the purpose of the open miracle is not for the open miracle. The purpose of the whole purpose of the 7 extra days was to appreciate the first day. What does it have to do with Chanukah? That's Midas HaHoyd. So what does that have to do with Hoidah? Chanukah is non-Hoidah. It has everything in the world to do with Hoidah. I have a cup of water. Why should I thank Hashem? Yeah, bring a cup.
Poland Spring.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol niyeh b'dvarei. Why should I thank Hashem for water? It rained. Of course it's going to rain. I have to thank Hashem. Every 7.5 days, the clouds get heavy and it rains. Why do I have to thank Hashem? You don't have to thank Hashem. Because the fact that it rained was a nes nigla, that the Yibon Shem changed the whole world because a Yid did a mitzvah. Not only a Yid, you did a mitzvah. Because if the Yibon Shem didn't want you to have water, then he would have had water, someone else would have had water, but not, in Mitzrayim, the Yibon Shem, everybody who was supposed to have water had water, anyone who was supposed to have dam had dam. The Yibon Shem could make very specific the nisim for who he wants to enjoy the nes. So, if a person allows himself to be confused by the philosophy of Hadar, why should I be grateful? Why should we be grateful? Should we be grateful that I'm married? Eventually everybody gets married. Should we be grateful to have children? You get married, you have kinderlach. Should we be grateful to have a mishpacha? That's what happens. You're in this world long enough, you have a mishpacha. But that's Hadar. That's the way it seems. But Hoid is to realize that the fact that the Yibon Shem brought me to get married is a nes nigla, and the fact that the Yibon Shem helped me find my kala is a nes nigla, and the fact that a person has mishpacha is a nes nigla, and the fact that a person is still here every moment, every day. It's not the way things are supposed to be, because if you put in a computer, the chances are that most people, they make it to this date and they have this family, and we don't take anything for granted because we're a nation of Hoid. The Yevanim were a nation of Hadar. Everything they take for granted. You don't have to be grateful for anything. Everything we could predict beforehand. We have a formula. We have a scientific equation to explain why everything happens. We don't have to thank Hashem not for water, not for bread, not for a table, not for a chair, not for our eyes. But the midah of Hoid is to recognize that Kol Tvarenu Umekrenu Kulam Nisim Ein Bahem Teva Umenhaga Shalom. So I'll tell you one little story. Somebody told me the story from the Ger Rebbe, the Beis Yisrael. There was a man by the name of Usher. Usher had 5 daughters. They were all over 28 years old, and no shidduchim. I told him to call you. No. And his whole life is taken up by trying to find shidduchim for these 5 daughters. To make matters worse, his chavrusa, he's marrying off his kids one after another. And then for his last kid, when I was working on one of the svarim, so I had to contact somebody in Yerushalayim. So I kept on calling. He's not in Yerushalayim. They told me he's in America. I said, what's he doing in America? He said, Minhag Yerushalayim. I didn't know what Minhag Yerushalayim is. Minhag Yerushalayim is when you have to marry off your kid, you come to America to collect $1 million. They need $1 million for the apartment in Eretz Yisrael. That's Minhag Yerushalayim. Anyway, so Usher's chavrusa is marrying off his last kid. He has to buy an apartment, but he can't afford to. He needs an arev. So Usher's the arev. The moment the apartment was bought, the shver he can't pay for it. The oil falls on Usher. Usher he's the ani ve'evyon. So the bank comes and takes away Usher's house because he was an arev on his chavrusa's. So now he doesn't have any shidduchim for the kids, and he has no house. He's tzabracha and everything. Nothing's going right. So somebody says, go to the Ger Rebbe, speak to the Beis Yisrael. What do I have to lose? He goes to the Beis Yisrael. Beis Yisrael, he says, the Beis Yisrael, every day, 3 times a day, I'm crying out in Shema Koleinu, Ribbon Shalom, help me with my mishpach, help me find shidduchim, help me pay up this apartment. But the Beis Yisrael says, you daven? See, I just said, every day. I Shema Koleinu. I didn't say one dry-eyed Shema Koleinu in 2 years. Beiso said, but you're mispalo? You're mispalo? He's looking at the Rebbe. What's the Rebbe talking about? The Rebbe said, but you daven. So the Rebbe says, I know you're mevakesh. Do you thank Hashem every day for everything Hashem gives you? That's what I mean, do you daven? I said, what do you mean everything? I don't. What does he give me? My whole life is occupied finding shidducha for my daughters. I have no money. But do you daven? Today says, let me tell you something. I'll tell you a little side. Here's the formula. 60% of the tefillah has to be thanking Hashem for what He gives you. And then 40% you could ask Him. Now who does that? Everyone from Shema Koleinu, it's a whole laundry list of things. Moedim is very quick, no? Moedim goes by very quick. The Beis Yisrael said 60-40. Usher was very upset with this meeting. And then when he came out, his friend told him, maybe the Rebbe's right. Because he said, look in Hallel. Haidul Hashem ki tov yom chasdai. 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 Ana Hashem Hashiana. Ana Hashem Hashiana. Ana Hashem Atzlichana. Ana Hashem Atzlichana. Haidul Hashem ki tov yom chasdai. Haidul Hashem ki tov yom chasdai. Out of the 10, 6 are Haidah and 4 are Bakasha. That's maybe where the Rebbe got the formula from. But we forget that the Rabbi Meir says that one of the main milos al yonos are his boinanos b'chasdei Hashem. That's the avoida of the Yom Tov of Chanukah. It was niskan lahoidos ulahalel. I think we said over maybe the first year that the Gemara says harogil bener havin leibanim tamidei chachamim. So Rabbi Yitzchak Saginar, the son of the Ravid, says, no, everybody is ragil bener, but not everyone is zeichel leibanim tamidei chachamim. So basically, if you look in the Gemara says l'shana acharas kavim v'asam yamim tovim b'halel v'hoida. The Gemara doesn't say to light neres Chanukah. You ever notice that? The Gemara doesn't say to light neres Chanukah. If you look in the Rambam, when the Rambam copies over this Gemara, the Rambam says they were koiveh v'asam halel u'madlike neiros. The Rambam doesn't say hoida. Must be that the hoida of the Gemara, when the Gemara says kamasam the halel v'hoida, the hoida is the hadlakas haneros. There's no mitzvah to light a ner. The mitzvah is to be moideh to HaKadosh Baruch Hu yedei lighting the ner. The Gemara says the yisoid of the mitzvah, and the Rambam says how you're mekayim it. So many people do the mitzvah, but do we light the ner as an expression of hoidah to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? And this formula, it's a good formula to bear in mind. When we're mispalel, we should have prepared many more things that we're grateful to HaKadosh Baruch Hu for than what we are mevakesh. And if we're able to do that, then we could appreciate the yisoid of Chanukah, which is the B'nai Vina. They understood that through the additional 7 days, Yemei Shmoina Kavu Shir Urananim, we would be zoichet to the bracha of having le'banim Hamidei Chachamim. Shkoyach.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.